In 1984, I was a 22-year-old college student. One night, someone broke into my apartment, put a knife in my throat, and he raped me. During the ordeal, I studied every single detail on his face because I was confident, should I be allowed to see the next day, that I was going to make sure he was put in prison and he was going to rot. I went down to the police station. I did a composite drawing. Several days later, I did a physical lineup, and I identified my attacker, and I knew who he was. I was confident I had picked the right guy, and he was going to go to jail. And if there was a death penalty, I would be there to pull the plug. We went to court. I stood on the witness stand, and I put my hand on the Bible, and I swore that I would tell the truth, and I did. And Ronald Cotton was sentenced to prison for life. And it was the happiest day of my life. Ronald Cotton was never going to get out. He was never going to hurt another woman. And he served until 1995 when DNA became available. And I was asked to take a blood test. The DNA test came back, and the detective and the district attorney told me, Ronald Cotton didn't rape you. It was Bobby Poole, the man I had never seen before in my life. The man who was inches from my face with a knife to my throat. Ronald Cotton was released after 11 years. He and I are the same age. During those 11 years, I had gone on. I had been married. I was a mommy. Ronald Cotton didn't get to do that. Ronald Cotton is married now, and he's a daddy. And Ronald's my friend. I'm here to tell you that eyewitnesses can make mistakes.
So I want to tell everybody listening, man.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Conversations with Cogee. It's the second hour. I got my man, I'm sorry I said I had Jennifer Thompson coming in, but she's in the next hour. I got my man Ronald Cotton in right now, who she just was talking about. And trust me, I'm going to send this song out to my man because let me tell you something. This man is a survivor. I got love for this man. And wait till y'all hear his story of redemption, forgiveness, and just how he held on. He's going to blow you away. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Conversations with Cogee. It's the second hour, and we'll be right back. This is for you, Ronald. All right, we back. Hey, welcome to the second hour of Conversations with Cogee. Miss Peaches.
Yes, Cogee?
Woo! Is that a deep song?
Yes, it is. A very deep song, and I hope Mr. Cotton loved it and felt it from you because that's a very special song.
And he made it through. His story is very powerful. Go on and give them a little insight of my man Ronald, then I'm going to bring him right in because I can't wait to talk to him. I mean, this redemption and forgiveness, I really got to hear how he came to grip with all this. You know, he's going to help a lot of people right now. He's going to help me. You know, hey, I learned from somebody through every show when they come through my show. I'm getting knowledge and I'm learning how to be a better person. You know what I'm saying? And he's one of these people that's going to help me move forward in some things that I might have issues with in life, you know, like forgiveness. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's so true because he definitely had to dig deep within himself, and I'm sure he'll explain all of that to be able to forgive this situation. So Mr. Ronald Cotton was wrongly convicted twice of rape based on his erroneous identification by the victim. Ronald Cotton was convicted twice, first in 1985 and after a retrial in 1987. He was exonerated in 1995 by DNA testing unavailable at the time of his trial. A book about the case called Picking Cotton was published in March 2009. The book was written by Cotton and the woman who erroneously identified him, Jennifer Thompson-Cannino. The two became friends after his release, and they have appeared at several events to publicize the unreliability of eyewitness evidence.
Wow, okay, there it is. So, hey, without further ado, let's bring my man Ronald in. How you doing, Ronald?
I'm doing lovely. You know, it's a little hot out here, but, you know, it's hot all over the world just about. So
You know, that's right.
Yeah.
Hey, but it's really hot in prison, though, ain't it?
It is. It's smoking in there, you know. the fireman had to come in there and put the fire out and say, you can go.
You know that's right. You know that's right. Hey man, I'm so glad that you took time and came through the show today to help my audience, man, with redemption and, like I said, forgiveness and everything. But how is your life going right now? Let me ask you, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing just positive I can be. You know, I'm sitting here in my car. You know, I was in the store. I realized what time it was. I couldn't make it home, so, you know, I had my cell phone, and I said, I just pulled to the side of the store and wrote my windows up, get it quiet and peaceful, and, you know, as I can be, you know, with the air conditioning on, and I said, well, I'm going to do this thing and get it over with, you know. So I'm taking life one day at a time, and I'm thanking God for, you know, making way for me, you know, to be out here with my family, friends, and loved ones. And now, you know, I have my wife, my daughter, to thank him even more, you know, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today, you know, but he gave me the strength to carry on, to go through the ordeal that I did.
Yeah, man. And you, believe me, when they hear this story, you definitely went through something, man. But let me ask you this, Ronald. When you was in there, what kept you holding on, man? I know at times you probably broke, but what brung you back and kept you, you know, how did you stand back strong after all those years?
Well, I still had my family support me. You know, they believed in me, had faith, and, you know, encouraging letters from, you know, my family. Along the way, I picked up a couple pen pals, you know, that I opened up to, and vice versa. But most of all, you know, I knew the good Lord would put no more on me than I can bear, you know. And they say grown men don't cry. That's a lie, you know. God shed many tears, but along that journey. But I had to keep my head high. You know, I was at the bottom of the rope. You know, I grabbed the hold of it, and I just pulled myself on up, you know, because I couldn't go out like that, you know. It was like going to the doctor, and he prescribed you a medication, a pill. It was so big you couldn't swallow.
Right.
And so I couldn't swallow that lifestyle in 54 years. So, you know, I had to fight fire with fire. It was like going to war, you know. I stayed in the law library, you know, researching, you know, trying to find that right avenue, that point to where, you know, I could get back, you know. So, you know, I used to listen to a lot of Whitney Houston songs, you know, the Where Do Broken Hearts Go?
Right.
But they can't find a way, you know, because my heart was really broken, and, you know, I just had to find my way because I was definitely seeking, you know, truth and justice. And finally, you know, it prevailed, but it wasn't easy, you know. Thank God for the, you know, the students at the UNC Law School and all those people that were working with me and along, you know, for me, you know, because I can do it all by myself. You know, my sister, she continued to write encouraging letters that said the good Lord told me that, you know, you hang in there, that, you know, you're coming out of that prison, you know, you just, you know, not time right now, you know, your time is coming. So, you know, that was a big help, you know, knowing that my family was behind me 100% of the way, you know, yet alone me writing the numerous letters that I did, you know, try to seek, you know, truth and justice through some legal organization. But finally, you know, it just surfaced.
Right. And let me ask you something. How hard do a rapist and a molester and, you know, different people like that, man, that violate women, how hard do they have it in prison that people don't know about?
Well, they have it very hard. I mean, once other inmates realize that you're in for child molestation and rape, sexual assault and things of that nature, you really catch it. You know, you catch pure hell from them. I mean, you know, I've seen child molesters get beat with a belt and a locker, with a lock tied onto it.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of time, you know, they can't survive in population. They have to be put in segregation or isolated, you know, on lockup somewhere, you know, to protect them where they can continue to survive in prison, you know, because that's not it. That's not the answer, because they look at it like it could have been one of their family members.
That's right.
And, you know, you're in that cycle, you know, you got to do what you can to survive. But, you know, luckily it didn't get me like that. You know, guys asked me what I was in for, and I told them, you know, they never attempted to try to rape me or beat me or nothing like that, because, I mean, I would have fought back, but they didn't come at me like that. You know, I guess they can see the sincerity in my expression, you know, in my face, you know, because that's what it was.
Right. And let me ask you something. How did it make you feel in jail with some people that you might have had verbal stuff with that called you a rapist, called you out of your name, even just knowing that everybody out here in the regular world is looking at Ronald Cotton as a rapist because you in prison right now, and you know that wasn't your MO. You ain't even with that. You wasn't with that. How did that make you feel when you was in there?
Well, it made me feel bad a little bit. But then again, it went in one ear and right out the other because, as long as I knew the fact of the case, that's all that mattered, because they could talk to the term blue in the case. And I wasn't worried about them putting a hand on me because I was ready to take a stand and defend myself, to the utmost, So,
Right.
so once I got in that first fight of the individual saying that, yeah, I know you committed that crime. You know you raped that girl. And, when I defended myself, by getting in a fight with several guys in prison, I made a stand and I won the fight. So, by winning that first fight, I let them know, if you come this way, you better come right. You can't be half-stepping.
That's right.
Because I was very sincere about my situation, and I was such sincere about it, when I was doing my legal research. But other than that, it's very hard for a rapist on a child molestation to go to penitentiary.
Right. And you know what? Let's go back. Let's rewind for a minute. Let's go back to that day when it was you said it was your family member that came and told you the police are looking for you for rape, right?
Right.
Did it blow you away?
Yeah, I was kind of shocked, because I know I hadn't done such a crime, I hadn't committed a crime anyway, but just the thought of, that right there, those words coming out of his mouth, that, I was being wanted by the police for a rape charge. I said, man, come on. Be for real. He said, no, I'm serious, So I saw that he was serious. I knew that, he wasn't telling no lie. So that's when I had to take the next step.
Right.
To go to the police department and find out just what was really going on. And I ain't saying it was a mistake going down there because it wasn't a mistake, I would have told myself that an innocent man do not flee justice.
That's right.
They face it.
That's right. And when you went and turned yourself in, take us to that. When you walked in and said, "Hey, I'm Ronald Cotton. I heard y'all looking for me for a rape case I had nothing to do with." How did the hell begin from there?
Well, they took me inside the police station, and they took me upstairs to a room, started to interrogate me, and they started showing me evidence, saying that, was this shoes mine, was this flashlight mine, and I said, well, the shoes are mine, but they wasn't in that condition. They took my pair of sneakers and cut them open like it was filleting a fish.
Oh, wow.
From head to toe. And I said, yeah, those are my shoes, but they wasn't in that condition. He said, what about this flashlight? I said, no, the flashlight is a friend of mine that I used to tie on my handlebars of my bicycle when I was riding home one night when my car was broke down. But they told me that those shoes were a pair of shoes, that the piece of foam rubber from the inside was torn out of it, that was found in Miss Jennifer Thompson's apartment. I said, well, if that piece of foam rubber was taken out, that shoe, and found in Miss Thompson's apartment, that's because you put that foam rubber there.
That's right.
I said, for the flashlight, I said, that flashlight, as I told you, was a friend of mine, and it never was shown in the female face. I said, so that's another thing that you making up, I said, but I understand why you're doing what you're doing, trying to frame me for this crime. For the simple fact, I was involved in an interracial relationship, and they did not like that.
Oh, you was already in an interracial relationship?
Yes.
Oh, okay. But let me ask you this. With that whole situation, do you think also that they railroaded you because you already had a prior case before that one, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
What case was that?
It was when I was a teenager. They tried to say it was a felonious breaking and entering. First degree burglary. They reduced the charges down to a felonious breaking and entering with a tip to commit rape.
Right.
So that was why they had me on file. And so when that crime was reported, they pulled all records and files of those that had been previously charged with something similar to that.
Right.
And I wanted, it went from that step to the next step.
Right.
And so I had to prove myself innocent, and it wasn't that easy doing so. But it should have been. But if the cops had been clean and straight from the beginning, it never would have went far as it did.
Right. And when they told you that they was going to put you in the lineup, take us to that moment when they said, well, we're going to stick you in the lineup. Did you already feel like, man, I already know what y'all going to do? Did you feel like, okay, maybe I can beat this?
Well, I felt that I could beat it, but once I realized that I was the only perpetrator from a crime that was in both lineups, I knew I didn't have a chance because, Miss Thompson had saw the photographic lineup. She selected me, and by me being the only individual from the physical lineup, from the photo lineup to the physical, quite naturally, she going to remember the facing on the picture and me standing right there in front of her,
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
It was a lost cause.
Right.
I was victory, it's like putting me out there in the ocean in a boat with no paddles.
Right. Just left you floating, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But let me ask you something. Okay. So when you finally got to court and you got to see this woman face to face, did you ever get to say anything to her like, can you really look, ma'am, can you really look at me? I didn't do that. Did you get to say anything to her, or you wasn't allowed to?
No, I wouldn't. My attorneys informed me not to take the stand. But even though, I wanted to, but they didn't want me to because of the interracial relationship I was in. And sure, I looked at her, and I said that those words in my mind, but, that's as far as it went,
So
I feel the sacrifice.
Right. So you could just see, even looking at her in the courtroom, that she had just hatred, revenge. She just wanted justice, and she thought it was you. But could you see all that in her eyes as you looked at her?
Well, I can say it in her face, not in her eyes, but I say, if looks could kill, I would have been dead.
Right. Wow. And you know what? When you take us back to when the judge, was getting ready to give the whole what is it called? My mind, I'm so caught up in this today. When he gave you, the plea or whatever, when he said, you convicted.
Yeah.
Take me to that moment when he said, you convicted. These are how many years you got. Take me to that.
Well, the jury foreman came out and said, Your Honor, we have found he gave the letter to the clerk. The clerk gave it to the judge. The judge opened the envelope, pulled out a piece of paper. So we now found the defendant guilty as charged. So I dropped my head. I looked at my attorneys. I looked at the jurors, and I looked at everybody around that was in my view, and I just couldn't believe it. It felt like I was in a dream. I pinched my left arm to make sure, is this real? And so when I felt the pain, I knew that it was. And
they gave you the sentence.
Yeah, the judge asked me to stand up and asked me if I had anything to say to the court.
Right.
I told him, yes, I did. I would like to have this permission to sing this song.
Okay. Hold on, Ronald. It's what we're going to do. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I got that for you. And I want everybody to hear it, how he sung in front of everybody in the courtroom. And how bad did you feel you had to do this? That was your last stand. How important was it for you to do this before I play the clip?
It was very important because, I was hurting inside. I just felt like my heart was ripped out. And, that's the only thing I had to cling on to was those words keep from breaking down,
Right.
And so I just had to let it go.
I hear you, man. Well, hey, check this out, everybody. I want y'all to hear what Ronald Cotton sung for the whole courtroom. Like he said, he was broke. He felt like that was his last stand. And this was his song crying out for his life. So check us out. Don't touch that dial, and we'll be right back.
I must say, the road that I traveled on many years ago has been turned around for the best. But after being found guilty for a crime I did not commit, I looked at the judge, and he looked down upon me, and he said, Mr. Cotton, stand up, please. And I did. He said, do you have anything to say to the court? I said, yes, sir, Your Honor. I said, I'd like to have your permission to sing this song. He said, well, you do. And I'm going to try to sing that song now. That it was a poem that I had written when I was in prison. So just bear with me. It went something like this. It said, decisions I can no longer make because my future's so unknown to me, and that I could no longer take. Cause during the day I wonder, at night I hurt with fear, call out his name so much, and suddenly tears appear. Until God came in my life, until God came in my life, I was often alone, and people I really couldn't face. I just didn't know what to do, without God felt so out of place. And if only you could see me, then you would know how I feel. I'm not the same person I used to be. Sometimes I don't think that it's real. How many times must I say this before you agree? There's no other God who ever loved you, not quite as much as Lord God. Believe me, everyone, 'cause God will change your life, and that is a fact. 'Cause I would pray both night and day until God came into my life. And that's the song that I sung that day in court. But once the judge handed that sentence down upon me, life in 54 years, I felt like I'd been stabbed in the heart with a knife.
Hey, we back, everybody, and welcome to our show. Today's show, I've been falsely accused, and we got my man Ronald Cotton on here, who was falsely accused of rape. Come to find out he didn't do it. Thank God for DNA. I think DNA is of God, you know what I'm saying, to get these people off that didn't do it. Ronald, hearing that song, what does it do to you even now when you hear that song?
Well, it takes me to a place that, you know, I hadn't been in so long. But it takes me, you know, somewhat back to the day of that trial, you know, that I don't need to relive, but, you know, I get the heart and mind, you know, I can take that, you know. I deal with my problems, you know, so that's not too big that I feel like I can't handle myself, but I know I can't handle it alone, you know. We all need somebody to lean on sometime, and that one person, the man upstairs, you know. And right. People must realize that, you know, that they're going to one day be somebody that they're going to have to turn to, you know, in need, you know, to lean on, someone to communicate with, because we all have problems, you know, and back then that was my problem. But today, you know, I live free and at ease. You know, I can smile once again. I can say I'm free and I feel free, you know.
Right.
But, you know, I have to still walk light because, you know, anything could happen, you know. You can be in trouble less than 5 minutes and pull a lifetime out of it.
Right.
And I don't need that. I don't want that.
Right. Let me ask you something. Has it been hard for you to walk a straight line without, you know what I'm saying, people, the police messing with you? People just won't let you forget, even though it's over with. How have you dealt with that?
I dealt with it, Eddie. I mean, you know, people, you know, come up, want to talk about it, ask me a question, and I say, well, I hope it doesn't bother you. I said, no, because that's what I do, you know, talk about, you know, my situation.
Right.
You know, hoping that it'll help another individual, you know, to understand, hopefully that they never have to go through what I did, because it can be a rough road to travel. Some people don't make it, you know.
Right.
Some people take their own lives, you know.
Yeah.
Some people get their lives taken, you know, because, you know, they don't know how to survive an ordeal like that. You know, they try to, but it's hard. I mean, because you're in prison with all the inmates that, you know, they know they're not going to get out. and you trying to get out because you know you're not supposed to be there. I mean, sometimes you have to swallow your pride. I mean, you don't want to, but, sometimes it's best to,
Right.
because you might put yourself in a situation where it's a life or death matter. Don't nobody want to go out like that.
Yeah, you definitely right on that. Big Blaze. Big Blaze.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about Ronald's story?
It sent me a little bit over the edge because it reminded me of a close friend that I grew up with. Same thing happened to him. It's pretty bad when you got to do, you know what I mean, a certain number of years in prison before found innocent. Now, my only real question is, did they compensate him anything? Or is that just time lost? Or like, okay, you didn't do it, you're free to go? Because that's a little bit messed up.
Wait a minute.
I never really understood how that worked, but I figured I'd ask. Like,
Right.
Is there any kind of compensation for doing time that was not yours?
Wait a minute, hold on. Now, Ronald did get compensated, and he'll tell us about it right now. But everybody, a lot of people, didn't get nothing but $20 in a bus pass.
That's right.
Hold on. In every state, it's different. In some states, you just lucky to have your life back, and that's what they'll let you know. So, so Ronald, you want to tell us about that? Your reparation?
Yeah. When I was released and everything, when I did learn about the compensation, it was only $500 a year, and I, know that I had attorney fees, pending, and so with the time that I served, the number of years, it came up to a total $5,060.
Oh wow!
And my attorney fees was a total of $5,000. So if I had accepted that compensation, I would have ended up with $500 and a pat on his shoulder, saying we're sorry.
Wow.
But yet and still, I went in front of the legislator down in Raleigh, North Carolina, and spoke to the legislator and let them know that this is not the way it's supposed to be. They're trying to pay me on the law that hasn't been changed in 50 years. So what's up? We behind times here. Wake up and smell the coffee. Let's make a change. It's time for a change.
That's right.
And so, thank God for Miss Thompson. She sat down and handwritten a letter to the legislator and then typed it, mailed it in. And there was a big change in that, because people were standing up, asking for this change. So they increased the fee to $10,000, which was, could have been better, but, something is better than nothing.
Right.
So, I ended up with a check for $110,000, but, they took maybe $6,000 of it because they said that I owe attorney fees. So I had to get an attorney to fight to get that because, I was eventually found innocent,
Right. Right.
So $10,000 for how many years?
11 years.
Oh man, really?
Yeah.
That's deep, man. That's deep. My heart goes out to you, brother. Because that's deep, man.
Right.
That's not even right.
Hold on, Blaze. Ronald, let me ask you this real quick.
Right.
How did you go through with the DNA? How did it come up to where, you had to get this DNA? How'd you go through that process? Because I want a lot of people to hear this right now who can help their family members. I tell their family members what to do. How did you get, focused on that and just know that you got to get that test?
Right. Well, I was in Tennessee at the time. I was walking through the dorm and happened to look up and notice, the OJ case was on television at the time.
Right.
And they was fighting DNA in the case, trying to prove his innocence. And they got to speaking about this blood that was found in his vehicle. And so it caught my eye, and I just stopped and looked, and then I went to my locker, retrieved a legal pad, started taking notes. I become interested in it. I said, well, they're trying to take this blood DNA to convict OJ, then they're saying it's 99% accurate. So I'm going to write to the Court of Appeals and request this test to be done in my case.
Right.
And so, I sat down one night and written this letter to the Court of Appeals, to whom it may concern, and express my situation that I would like this test to be done in my situation.
Right.
And a few days went by, maybe about a week or two, and they responded and said, Mr. Cotton, I forgot who it was, but stated that we're going to recommend your request to have this DNA test done.
Wow.
But if this test be done, come back stating that you're the individual of this crime, then this is why you're going to spend the rest of your life. What do you want us to do? I immediately, without a doubt, stood up that night and written right back. Told him, I'm an innocent man. I have nothing to lose. Put your feet down and go with it. If the test come back stating anything other than innocent, that's because someone tampered with it.
That's right. That's right.
And, about 90 days later, my results come back. And the warden called me in his office later that night and told me, he said, Mr. Cotton, he said, your test come back from the lab. You were found not guilty.
Oh, wow.
He said, you're a free man. You're going home tomorrow.
Wow. Take me to that moment walking down to the warden's office, though, Ronald. I mean, was you a nervous wreck? Because they already had tampered with your shoes to put you in that position.
Yeah, you're correct. But the prison guard came up to the gate and called my name, and said, "Cotton, the warden want to see you." And so I said, "What the warden want to see me for? What have I done?" I got to thinking, what have I done? I'm getting kind of nervous and whatnot, because I'm saying, "Oh Lord, somebody must have set me up or something," because it has happened in prison before. I got set up on the weapon being in my shoe, a homemade prison shank. Some guy stuck in my tennis shoe and slid it on my bed. So I'm thinking maybe a situation pertaining to that issue. But once I entered that office and shut that door, and the officer stayed outside, him and I was in there alone. We got to talking. That's when he broke the news to me. I was overjoyed. I didn't get too excited because, I know anything can happen. So
that's right.
I thought maybe I was going back to court for a time cut because, they might tell you one thing and some other might happen.
Right.
So before I start celebrating, I wanted to be sure. But even though I did get a little happy there for a brief moment and went back and told my friends, what was going on. And that morning, when they called me to pack my belongings, that I was going back, hey, I could have flipped,
Right. But let me go back to this for 1 minute, then I'm gonna come back forward. Then I want Miss Peaches to chime in after this. So Miss Peaches, get ready to come in. But I want to ask you, Ronald, what was when they said they're gonna give you the DNA test, and you told them, "Come on with it, let's jump both feet in, let's do it."
Yeah.
Where did your faith start going? I mean, how did you? I ask everybody this. Did you feel, God, why did you put me in here? Because you went in at a young man. How old were you when you went in? 20?
I was 21. I turned 22 in jail.
Okay. So
I was released when I was 33.
Right. So when you went in at 21, you lost all that young life. Was you angry at God, or did you feel like, why are you sending me through this? How did you deal with your faith? How did you deal with holding on, being angry at God and then reversing it to where God helped me through this? God, I know God to get me out.
Well, I questioned him. I know we're not supposed to question our God, and what I did, I asked him, what did I do to deserve such a miscarriage of justice, done unto me? But, I left it at that. I left that alone. So, I get down on my knees and pray, I just, got to thinking, well, I know that He's not going to put no more on me than I could bear. So,
There you go.
And I read out of the Psalm chapter, 71?
Yeah.
I read that verse, that book, chapter. I read it every day, about 7 times a day.
Wow.
And I believed, and I had faith in the words, and believed in myself that, things were going to be just as it said. And it just about did, it got turned around, but it didn't get turned around when I wanted to, because if I had went my way, I wouldn't have never went in there. But
Right.
I had to, sacrifice, a lot of time. But, I learned from that, I went in and, learned a lot about the law that I did not know,
I hear you. Wait a minute. Hold on, Ronald. Wait a minute, Ronald. 1 second. Miss Peaches, chime in.
I'm just
really blown away by all of this, and I know that there are so many people out there that are hurting the same ways that Ronald has in the past, and now even talking about it, he said he doesn't really like to go back to those times because he's through them now. But I think one thing that has stayed on my mind through our research is, and when you asked about the prison, Cogee, about how rapists and child molesters.
Oh, your phone's messing up.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Peaches.
Did he get a lot of danger from both sides because she was a white woman and he's a black man, and so
right.
Another dynamic in prison I know is really, really terrible.
Ronald.
Well, I mean, it turned into a race thing in prison sometimes, arguing over, the black and white thing, but I really never cared to really get into arguments, related to race because I wasn't raised that way, I let the guys know that, I didn't care about, this prejudice thing because this race thing, because I wasn't raised that way,
Right.
I was brought out to love everyone, regardless of the color of the skin,
Right.
And that's the way it is right today. That's the way I've been bringing my daughter up, love everybody.
I hear you.
Look at the color of the skin, the shape of the head, and nothing like that. Love and love all.
I hear you. Did that woman stick beside you when you was gone?
Well, I didn't meet her until after I got out of prison.
No, I'm talking about the woman you was in a relationship with.
Well, she would have, but I released her, because it wouldn't have done me no good hanging on to her because
I hear you.
She was young as well. So, I wanted her to have someone to come into her life, and make her happy.
Right. I hear you. And you know what? It's a lot of people that's been on my shows, and they said the same thing, that when they had a girlfriend, when they went in, they just let her go, because at least letting her go, you don't lay in bed and you don't deal with that, wondering what's going on and what's happening. You deal with it a lot better knowing you let it go, and y'all can still be friends, and that person's there for you. You agree?
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Right.
I see her sometime today. I look at her and I think about how it used to be. What it was and all that. But
right.
This is now. She has her life and I have my life, but we can talk and get along and, smile and reminisce a little bit. It's only if we want to.
Right. I hear you. But let me ask you a question, Ronald, and I got to go here with this. If that would have been a black woman that would have said you raped and all that, would you have went through the same hell?
I don't think so. No, I do not. For the simple fact, I say that because, right now, the trial could have been going on in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, about a murder trial. My nephew was murdered, and the guy that done the killing was Hispanic, and now they're trying to offer him a 6-year plea bargain, and he killed 2 people, my nephew and his friend. And so, I told my sister, don't go for that. I said, because if it's, the other way around, they're trying to give him a life sentence.
Of course.
If it was a black on the other race, they try to give him a life sentence. So I told her, don't go for that,
Right.
I said, they're just trying to get it out the way and put it under their belt,
Right. And you know what? How did it make you feel when you saw the interview, even when Jennifer said, I prayed every night that he got killed or raped or molested in jail. She prayed that you would never make it out of jail.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel? And especially with you knowing I'm really innocent. I know you wishing the worst on me, but I'm really innocent. And I'm, like I said, I thank God for DNA. I think DNA is God, a part of God. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes, I do. But, they used to hurt me, when she, said those words. First time I heard them, I just kind of dropped my head and shook it. I just couldn't believe it. But, I understand, in her mind and heart, she definitely believed that I was that individual, and I wasn't. So, I know I had to sit there and listen to her story.
Right.
And she will get the opportunity to hear my story as
Right.
well. But, I didn't dwell on her saying those things, but, they were hurting words, but, I've gotten used to hearing them, and
Right.
so it's like a drop in the bucket,
And then on top of that, the guy that really done it, he did die in jail.
Yes, he did. He died of brain cancer. I wanted to take him out myself, but and it wouldn't have been out to eat either. But my father, he told me, he said, "Ron, if you're innocent, I believe you're innocent." And he said, "But if you kill this guy, this way you'll spend the rest of your life."
Right.
And I knew that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in prison. So then again, I swallowed my pride and I walked away. But I learned a lot from that.
Right. But when you talked to this guy, both of y'all was in prison together, and when you went up to him and said, "Man, you look like the same person they trying to accuse me of doing the rape with. This is you." What did he say to you?
He said it wasn't him. He said it wasn't, and so he immediately walked away. So
Yeah. And you knew by his body language what time it was.
yeah, I knew that.
And then later on, he bragged about it to other inmates, and God had one of his angels in there, and they came and let you know, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. You're right.
And how did that
So,
make you feel once that, like you said, you told the warden and told everybody you know who it is, and still nobody moved on your behalf? Where does that take you to? You already, how many months? What, 10 months in? How many months in were you before he came?
Just 94 days.
Oh, wow. That's still too long.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then this guy comes in, and they didn't even match up his DNA. You know what I'm saying? Once you told him that, they didn't even take his DNA and put it in, right?
No, they did not. I don't even think a DNA was done in this situation. If it were, they didn't compare it to Miss Thompson case.
Right. But but nowadays, if a DNA is done, it'll pop up the other person's case. Whatever case that went on, that DNA will pop up, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good thing. But with that whole situation, let's fast forward real quick. You go and meet Jennifer at a church, right?
Correct.
What was that drive like, knowing you're going to come and see somebody who just destroyed your life? You know what I'm saying? With picking you in a lineup, and the way, and I do understand when she explained it, the way she got, coerced and then, into picking you, and the way they played with her head, and then the way they told her, he's been picked in this, and he already had a criminal record. It was almost like just sealing your fate, where she only thought it was you.
Yes.
So
I told myself that, it was like, they were planting a seed in the field, they put it in her head and let it sprout.
Right.
So,
right.
They did that.
So you come into the church, you see her, y'all sat down together. She said she just automatically start crying and put her head down. So take us to that moment real quick.
Well, after, I walked into church and she was sitting down with a little jean outfit on. And she said, "Well, I don't know what to call you, Ron Cotton, Mr. Cotton, or whatever." She said, "But I'm so sorry, And so I reached out and just took her hand and cried a little bit and let her know that I had forgiven her years ago, that I just wanted her and I and our family to live a happy, peaceful life, and just move forward, because there was no need, for holding a grudge, having hatred in your heart, because I'll never forget that day, in prison when I asked the good Lord to forgive me for holding a grudge, a hatred toward her, because I wanted to serve my time peacefully in prison without letting that eat me up on the inside, because that's all grudges and hatred would do toward you, just eat at you, because, it's no good for you, no one, but people do tend to hold on to grudges and hate, but in reality, they'd be so much better if they can let it melt between their fingers like butter.
Right. I hear you. But let me ask you something. Did a lot of people that was around you tell you just leave it alone? You out. Don't go talk to that lady. Just leave it alone. You don't need to be around her. Enough's done happened. Let it go. Did you hear that?
No, I did not hear that, because a lot of people didn't know my heart. They didn't know what was on my mind. Some people, was really, trying to get me to go after in a bad way, but I didn't want that. I wasn't looking for no trouble. Didn't want it and did not need it.
I hear
So,
you.
all I want was peace and happiness. And I was wanting her to come forward, sooner than what she did. But, I knew she had to come on her time. When she felt the time was right, that's when it was the time to make that move.
Right.
And she finally came to that point to where she wanted to get it out of her system. And we come to that point, and it happened.
Right. And how did
So,
you? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said, so, we learn to live happily ever after.
Right. But even after that, when you got out and you heard that, and even when she said in her interview, when the police went to her and said, well, we let Ronald Cotton out, he wasn't the man, that she just lost it. And she was pissed that they let you out, that you were the man. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
Well, I didn't feel too good about it, but, I accepted it. I said, because, eventually, they will know, because they did not hesitate, to do this testing, because they feeling that he was going to come back and show that was guilt.
Right.
But I guess they were really shocked when they come back and said it wasn't his blood. It was like a big shock.
Yeah.
Oh my God, where do we go from here? What do we do?
Right. I hear you. Right. And it's a blessing, like I said, through all this situation, that you and her turned out to be great friends. That y'all was able to talk and y'all was able to get past that. And that's something right there that I gotta commend you on. I mean, I don't know how I would have dealt with it, but I guess like you said, with enough time being in there, and anger never done nothing for nobody. Anger didn't change your mind. Anger didn't help you do your time. So I kind of get where you're coming from to a certain extent. I do. Definitely. Mm-hmm. And what we going to do, we got Jennifer. She's going to come on in the next hour. Is it okay if I cross you over into the hour with Jennifer? Do you got time?
I really don't, because I got to get to my daughter.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a part two. I'm going to have a part two of this show, because I got some more fellas that's going to come on, and I definitely want you to come on again. If you can come on for like 30 minutes, and then I'll, move on to the next people. My producer, she's going to get in touch with you, and I want to bring you back on next week for like 30 minutes so we can get a little bit more in depth about just you and Jennifer's relationship and how y'all broke it and the great things that y'all doing now. Is that okay?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you. Ronald, for being on. You're inspiration to me. And like I said, I will be getting back in touch with you soon, and we'll finish our conversation amongst us, and then we'll be ready for Monday. All right?
All right. Sounds great.
Okay, man. God bless you and your family, man. And like I said, keep being straight, man, and keep helping those people, man. You're a blessing.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, brother. Take it easy. All right.
Bye-bye.
So everybody, hey, that's our second hour, Conversations with Cogee. That was my man, Mr. Ronald Cotton, who was falsely accused of raping Miss Jennifer Thompson. DNA showed he had nothing to do with it, not at all. But he spent 11 years in prison. You know what I'm saying? But, hey, he still got out. He's an advocate helping men and women to fight their cases and get out. The show's only getting stronger because now we got Jennifer Thompson who will be coming in the next hour. So, hey, don't touch that dial, all right? It's a lesson to be learned through this whole show. You don't want to miss it. We all got family members that's going through it, and you never know what might happen in life. You might have to go through something, but you got to know how to fight it and how to deal with it. So, hey, don't touch that dial. This is Conversations with Cogee. Much love to everybody. We doing it, baby. We'll be right back for the third hour.